This is the second half of the Becky and Boca show, and I have swapped out my doctor for two new guests. I have Lori Mutabaya. She's the manager of Clive Daniel Home. And I have Marla Jaffe. She's the director of business development for Clive Daniel Home. And the reason I brought them in is I'm doing a big Becky and Boca event there next week. And it's going to be the event of the season. I promise you, ladies.
We figured that out.
We're sure. It's going to be fantastic. It's Thursday, October 27th at 6 p.m. It is by invitation only. So if you want to go, you have to send me an email at BeckyinBoca@gmail.com and we'll talk. So that night is going to be spectacular. My guests are going to come up the escalators there to the second floor. And we're going to be streaming this show live with lights and camera and everything right there. And we're going to have a bar and we're going to have hors d'oeuvres. And I have all sorts of people there. I have 4 doctors that I'm going to have there. Dr. Daniela Dudurian, the one that just left. And I have Dr. Jason Green. He is a cosmetic dermatologist as well as a regular dermatologist. And I have Dr. Christopher Pittman coming from Tampa. And then I have Dr. Amanda Sindeldecker coming too. She is a cosmetic dentist, and she was on my show last week. She does tooth whitening and cosmetic dental work as well as all the facial injectables. So the whole idea is I put my guests in front of these doctors to talk with them and mingle and figure out what they do and if they want to do anything without all the pressure of making an appointment and going in to see the doctor and all that. Okay, now we're going to talk to my guests. I guess we will start with Lori. You're the manager of Clive Daniel.
I am.
And the store just opened up a few months ago, correct?
On actually January 29th. We broke ground in October, put the building up, and we moved in, and we haven't stopped going since. It's been crazy.
It's only a few blocks from my house, and I was driving past there the whole time they were putting that up, and I'm like, what is that going to be? It's the most huge, magnificent structure, and it's absolutely fabulous. It kind of rivals the Dakota down in Davie in like the size and the amount of things that you have there. And every time I go in there, I want everything. So
we have to come back in again. We just redid the whole store, so we have all new everything. Oh. So it's really exciting. We're ready for fall. We're ready for everybody to come back from the north, and it's really some stunning pieces that have been selected just for us.
And you have really everything. Happy. I mean, you have outdoor patio.
We do.
You have a contemporary section. You have bedrooms, you have a whole design area where you can design your kitchen and bathroom and everything else.
Yeah,
right?
We always say that we can do anything from your mailbox to your swimming pool, and
it's
we
incredible.
Really can.
Yeah.
We have great designers. We have people who have been in town for many, many years. We have people from Miami, people from West Palm, so we pretty much cover the expanse of the coast, and really people have great reputations. And we have Marla, who has a great reputation in town.
Let's ask Marla about your role there. You're the director of development. So explain what that means.
Because my job basically is to be in the community, networking, putting the brand of Clive Daniel throughout South Florida. I cover Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward.
Oh, okay.
So
you're getting the word out that you're there and that people can come in.
Right. My job, the primary focus is to try and engage realtors, builders, and developers through, excuse me, I have a little frog in my throat.
That's all right.
Through a realtor program that we have.
I sat in your office yesterday while you talked to some realtors, and that program was very impressive.
It's very exciting, and also my experience over the years, in the past almost, I hate to say 40 years, designing down in South Florida, has given me the opportunity to know many, many people. So I'm tapping into that network that I already had, and I'm making new friends every single day, like meeting you and doing event planning.
You know what I found impressive when I was listening to you talk, when you were talking about if somebody is building a house, if a builder is building a house,
correct,
whether they show it empty or whether they show it furnished.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about
Absolutely.
that? About how much more quickly they
Absolutely.
sell?
One of the most interesting things is when I met Daniel, who is the son, Clive and Daniel. Daniel is the son, Clive is the dad.
So Clive and they have another store in Naples, right?
Yes, correct. 85,000 square feet in Naples. We are 70,000 square feet here in Boca.
Okay.
So when I met Daniel, because I had my own interior design business for almost 40 years, he initially brought me over to be a consultant with the store over in Naples, and then introduced me to Lori. And remember that day when
do.
you were talking
And
to
were
me?
you
I said,
in Naples also, Lori?
No, actually, I moved from New York to take the job. I worked for Clive and
Oh.
Daniel in our other life as Robin Stuckey, and the visionary that Clive Lubner is when it comes to furniture and design, he really revolutionized how people do design. He's the first person who ever did lifestyles in a store. So now he's just kind of taken that to another level.
Were
He's
you
moving.
here in the
Actually, I
Robin
was in
Stuckey
Las
store?
Vegas. I was in
Oh,
their Las
okay.
Vegas store. So,
Okay.
and they asked me to come back and run this store, so I did. And we've just done great.
Do
So
they only have the 2 stores?
right now?
Yeah. Oh,
Eventually, there will be more, but right now, just 2.
it's amazing.
yeah.
Marla, you were talking about putting furniture in a home to sell
Correct.
it, and I was
So-
thinking, wow.
Well, the really interesting thing is, in my position, because I have such a strong design background, one of the, I guess, attributes, according to Daniel, Clive, Lori, and especially.
Nice to know that it's actually owned by father and
We
son.
all
team.
talk to each
met,
other every day, pretty much.
They
Yeah.
really
Personal.
said to me, Marla, you would be a great fit as the director of business development. I'm very social. I know
you are, yes.
I know. It's kind of to a fault sometimes. It's like it's
No,
okay.
no,
just
it's great.
just tell me it's okay to be quiet. But on the serious side, I take my position very, very seriously because I know the language of the builder. I know the language of the developers, and I know the language of the interior designer and the end user, which is ultimately going to be the buyer. So
Right.
I remember, I grew up in retail also. My dad had stores, and sometimes you have to know that you may not like everything you're selecting, but there's someone for everything.
But if you're trying to sell a house,
That's right. That's the
do you-
challenge.
yeah.
You have to come to a neutral place.
Exactly.
Where you create a nice palette. I always said, I look at interior design kind of like a painting. I say you cannot have a good foreground without a good background. Okay, which means so you've got to lay the foundation. The foundation is when you look at a floor plan and you look at an empty home, is the space, and the space dictates how furniture should be placed. There's more than one way to place furniture,
Yeah.
but as a designer, you learn the best way to place the furniture. If it's a builder that has a view, you want to make sure that the furniture is facing so that
Right,
the
sure.
builder shows off what that piece of property properly. But I always say you've got to have the wow factor. You have to have that when you walk in the door, someone's going to walk in and emotionally get connected to that home.
a lot of the builders now will buy the furniture
Correct.
and put it in the home, and the
That's
furniture
the
goes
best
with
way.
the home.
Yes, that's the best way because when you engage in a design team to do a nice interior design project for a spec home, what you're doing is creating that whole emotional appeal that we're going to create so that when the end user, the buyer, will walk in, they're going to say, I have to have it just like that. They don't really want to.
I'd be ready to
change out.
chuck all my old furniture
Exactly.
and move right
And
in.
they
we hope
can.
for.
And,
Yeah.
and the beautiful
Imagine
part
how nice
that's
that would
right.
be.
But the beautiful part of Clive Daniel, as opposed to a smaller interior design firm doing a model like what I was, is when the client comes in and buys the home, it's very hard for a small design firm to say, oh, I'll exchange a couple of pieces out here and there so you can put your personal take on it. With Clive Daniel, because of our background, because of the volume that we have, we're able to say to the buyer, if you'd like to take a piece and more personalize it, you could pick a couple of pieces and we're happy to exchange them out.
So you can swap
ultimately.
it out if it's not
And-
exactly what you want.
Yeah, so we're able to give a situation, present a situation to a builder that's unlike most.
And you obviously homes sell much quicker if there's
They are statistically, when we go in and do a model, I call it a model, not a stage. When we go in and do a model, we could sell, that house could sell within a week, it could sell within a month, and maybe go a few months, but it's very unlikely it's going to sit unpurchased.
so
for
these
you.
big intracoastal homes that these builders are putting up in Boca Raton as spec homes.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't sell those quickly, they're carrying that home.
That's correct, and
for a
it's
period of months.
costly.
Very costly, and I know the insurances you have
And
to
that's
carry
a
her.
good point because when you stage, the money that you spend to stage a home, when the buyer buys it, the part of the selling technique was, well, we'll take the home, the furniture back, and you just basically rented it, but you've taken that money that you're spending on that furniture to hold it and stage the home, and you're really, it's not giving you an end profit. So when you do the model and you own the furniture,
You own the furniture.
That's right. You're not renting the furniture. Staging, you're renting basically.
Right.
Model, you're owning. if the builder owns furniture, a lot of these builders are building multiple homes, so they're able to take that furniture if they would like. And Lori and I've discussed this a lot of times. We will take that furniture, put it in our warehouse. We have a warehouse. Wrap it. It's nice and clean. They can use it again. Or that
And then
home
do you
sells
go back
furniture.
into the next home and tell them where to put it? Yeah,
Of course.
because I mean, I would
sure.
be able to-
The whole idea is develop this relationship
With
so
the
that
builders.
they
Exactly.
feel, you know, it's all relationship based. But if they sell the home furnished, touche. I mean, you got a win-win right there.
Right. I would imagine that you would be very valuable to builders because you see these huge, magnificent homes, and if there's anything that can
And
them
I
sell-
like to say that most builders, a lot of us have had these conversations. Not, to a fault, everyone's home is wonderful. Everyone's home is special. Everyone's home is perfect. But a good designer will realize that there's a lot of imperfections in many of these
you
homes.
see my house.
And that's one of the reasons why they don't sell that fast. And
Right.
a great designer, good designer, great teamwork with the builder, hearing what they need. We're going to go in there. We're going to give it that wow factor so that people don't really see the flaws as much as they see the benefit of buying that home.
Honestly, we'd like to be there from the beginning so that they can have the right backgrounds,
Right,
they
so
can
you
have
can
the
tell
right
them how to-
tile and all that sort of thing, because it's key to selling a home. So
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I would think that would be an asset to any builder.
Part of the realtor program, when I'm developing these relationships with the realtors and getting them to understand, when, especially on the east side, where so many homes were very, very Tuscanized, very,
Yep,
very
there was
heavily
that.
designed, right? Transitioning them into being more current.
What is the
Yeah.
trend
It's really
now?
hard.
In if you're
coastal. I mean, a lot of people come to Florida and they want to feel like they're here. You know, especially if you live in Manhattan or you live in Long Island. There's, it gets very gray at certain times of the year. So you want to come here and there's a more light feeling. And for so long, everything was so Mediterranean that people have
all
completely
those
turned
big
away from
homes
that.
on the water.
Yeah, so we see very light colors. That's really where we are now. A lot of grays and different tones of gray and that sort of thing. And Marla's way more educated about this than I am.
Is it
but
contemporary furniture or
Well, here's the interesting.
not necessarily. Not
And
necessarily.
there's always a client for everything. And in our store, I mean, if they don't exactly see something, we will be able to provide it for them. But one of the key things for me, because I also taught interior design for a while, and it's critically important to understand scale and balance and proportion.
Absolutely.
And when you go through Clive Daniel, it's been so cleverly well done in that when you walk into a lot of spaces being created right now are smaller spaces, not necessarily, and some people are downsizing. So what happens, the furniture's scaled so that it's not overkill, it's not overstuffed, so you can enjoy your space. Your eye not only goes over the sofa or over the occasional chairs to take in the view outside, and it wraps you right back into the space.
that's interesting.
So it's a very, design is strategic, and you have to play every piece properly so that that room feels that way, so that when you walk into a space, you just know when a space feels good.
Yeah,
It's because it's
sure.
proportionally done.
Right.
It's,
I like the scale aspect. That's
it's very.
that's where
it's
my
a
house
lot
goes
of
wrong.
fun. It's a lot of fun to break rules.
Well, even we have a designer on staff who does geriatric design. So
Geriatric design.
As people grow older,
Oh, wow.
well, how do you deal with that? And none of us want to get older, but at some point you have to kind of deal with it. We have a person that specializes in that.
Well,
Yes.
what?
So
She's
Explain that a little bit
well,
to me.
it's kind of funny because she has a little kit that she uses, and there are glasses because as you age, you can't differentiate, color as well and all that sort of thing. So they have all these tools that they use, how you're able to grab onto things, and so they have created all these products that help deal with someone who wants to age in their
but
home and stay
doesn't
there.
look like you're walking into a
That's
nursing
right.
home.
That's right.
What
That's
a
right.
brilliant idea!
It really
for
is. It's
South
amazing.
Florida.
Yeah.
And she's CAP certified, which is,
Oh,
you
wow.
get certified in ADA and barrier free, which I'm also licensed in ADA and barrier free design, because it's aging in place with dignity and grace.
I like
so you can actually use an interior designer, recreate your space, renovate your bathrooms and your kitchen to accommodate you for accessibility. And also, it also affects young people too.
Sure.
When you go in, I'll never forget when I was in college, my thesis, I had to do handicap in a wheelchair for 2 weeks and then blind for 2 weeks. And we all go through these
wow.
processes. And then one of my clients actually survived an airplane crash, and she was a quadriplegic.
Oh my!
And I had to design her home for accessibility, and she didn't want to leave it, but she wanted it beautiful.
Right. You don't want it to
That's
look
right.
like
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't want it to be sad. You want
No,
them to be
right.
happy in their
Absolutely.
space, so,
Right.
and we know how to handle all of that
So
sort
are you
of thing.
talking about like things that people can grab onto,
Yes,
the railings that don't
absolutely.
look like those metal?
Everything is designed.
Or even something as simple, this is the thing that was striking to me. We do a lot of glass cocktail tables. Well, if you have trouble differentiating,
Bad idea.
not a good
Right,
thing,
right,
right? But
right,
who would ever think of that,
Right,
So,
right.
so that sort of thing. So yeah,
wow.
it's very interesting.
I would think that would be wonderful for South Florida. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
That's really one of the best things about what we do is we get to identify all these things about people's lives. There's a big trend right now from people moving from the west to the east. They want to live in a condo where they can walk around Meisner, and you get to find out why. Like, what is it about their life that they're trying to achieve in their life? And there's so many things that people, and so many people who have similarities in what they're trying to do with their life. And we get to experience that every day, and we get to help them kind of get there.
Right. And I know, people that are downsizing or they're a little bit older and they're buying homes, I know they want everything on the first floor.
Yes.
My house has 2 stories. I'm just going to have to stay in shape because I can't afford to.
I think there's something to be said for 2 stories.
I'm with you. I had the 2-story, and I said, and never again.
Well, we could get those little things that you ride up the.
Yeah, but there's
Oh gosh, never that,
there's
never
a
that.
Is there a new one that looks better?
No.
I don't think so.
It's called an elevator.
Right. Oh, yeah.
There's a big
Like, I'll
part.
put an elevator in my house.
A big part of that is and I've done this so many times when I was practicing, is having that conversation in a very comfortable, non-intimidating,
Right,
threatening
because
way.
I know people
Yeah,
now that
we're-
are building homes
That's right.
taking in mind that they're going to stay there another
Sure.
30 years. They don't want to leave. So you have to plan for that.
That's
That's
correct.
right.
And
Yeah.
you have to listen very carefully because they have to make a disconnect. And making that disconnect's a transition that they have to go through step by step. You may walk in and say, this all has to go. But I always said, why do you have to say that? As you work with your client and you're developing their new space, it almost happens organically. They're going to realize as they start to see all this pretty new stuff that when they put it all in with what they want to keep, all of a sudden they're coming back and they're going.
What they want to keep has to
And
go.
you already knew that. In
Right,
that,
right, right.
As a
Yeah.
designer,
No,
you
exactly.
already
I understand
know
what you're
that.
saying.
But you don't. I was talking to a builder the other day who had a 2-story house and having a difficult time in selling the house. And I looked at him and I said, the master's upstairs, but you have to realize as you want to romance the master, yes, it has a gorgeous view. You should have a refrigerator up there. You should have a little area where they can get something to munch on at night so they don't have to go up and down the stairs if the home doesn't have an elevator. So you create that.
your coffee up there in the morning?
That's
Coffee
correct.
machine.
You create
Very
coffee. Exactly. You create that space so that, I really love the location of this home. I really love this about the house, the way the space flows. But that master's upstairs. Well, what if the designer came
People
in and
really worry about that.
Yeah.
Of course,
What if
yeah.
the designer came in and said, I'll tell you what, we'll create that whole space to work for you so you can enjoy it and have that beautiful view out that master bedroom. And then we've just sold the home for for the builder and for the
Right.
the buyer. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
helped
know,
my
we went
mother after my father died a few years ago. They had a very big house and moved her into a small condo, and we had to sell everything that they had amassed over 30 years in that house. And
right.
it's very traumatic.
It is.
for someone to move.
You have
so
to acknowledge it because it's real. And you have to have a lot of patience.
One of the other big trends that we see are the people who are doing 2 master suites. So a lot of people are moving
So what's
parents
that?
into their home. So there's a master suite for the whoever owns
correct.
the house, and
Big
then
time.
for the parents,
That's
which are
wonderful.
beautiful. I mean, and so and usually on the ground floor. So there is so much thought that's put into all of it, based on the needs of what the population's going through right now.
Sure.
So it's very interesting work because you get to experience all this with people, and I think it's the best
The
part.
double master is actually a huge thing for builders today. You're seeing it over
I
and
think
over
that would
again.
be good also for when you have guests.
It's
Yes.
good for
Put them
guests.
away from you, and they got their own part of the house.
You have a partner that might
Especially
snore.
married
You have
people.
someone that has a different sleep schedule, that someone's working this hour and this hour. And it makes it a really nice way for them to still live together, cohabitate, and understand that they just have to
Have your own
accommodate
space.
differences. That's correct.
And here, if people are going to vacation together, so if eventually you're going to try to do it as an investment property, and people vacation as families, so there's all
Sure.
kinds of different aspects to it.
Right.
But it's a huge trend, and we do it every day. So yeah.
I like to speak to the real estate offices and develop these relationships with real estate agents because it's an incentive program where we just help them with a gift that comes from them. It's not from Clive Daniel.
Right.
It really is a gift from the realtor to have their buyer feel welcome at Clive Daniel.
So they
Home.
give the
realtor
buyer a
will give
gift
the
when-
buyer a gift. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
And it's a nice, welcoming way, and it's a way for us to get to know the realtors in town and have them feel comfortable. We want to be the go-to place. We have this wonderful little area upstairs. It's called a little cafe, and in the cafe you can go in there and
Cappuccino.
you can
I
get your
come in there for
cappuccino. Yeah, right? You can get your little cup of coffee. And I always say, come in with your partner. If they don't want to shop and walk the store, it's a big place.
Oh, I would
Go
recommend
up
just
there,
going in there,
sit up there, have a little
wandering
treat,
around, taking a
have
look
a little
at everything.
bite, have a little cup of coffee, and let your significant other run around the store and have a good time, do your computer work, and then they'll come find you when they want you.
Right.
It's
very
a
nice.
beautiful spot. It's right outside our gift gallery, which is terrific.
Talk about the gift gallery
Oh, the gift
briefly.
gallery is the
You
best.
don't have to go in there and spend a ton of money.
No,
they
no,
have a
no.
gift gallery.
Daniel calls-
I tell you, we had Chanel trash cans. We cannot keep them in stock.
Yes.
I want one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, everybody in Boca wants one. I don't have any more.
A Chanel trash can.
Chanel trash cans.
Oh, my God.
They ran
you
out
know,
of there.
all
I never
kinds
even
of
got a
things.
chance
You
to
didn't
get
get
it. Nope, they ran out.
Yeah. And Daniel Lubner's wife, Kathy, buys for the boutique, and she's very good at it.
So if somebody doesn't want to redecorate their home, they can just go in there and get some pieces too.
Well, an
Definitely.
interesting thing that we do is we do these programs for. I book a lot of the events that we have for various women's groups in various developments, and the schedule gets pretty tight. We have our designers do a program for them, and one of the programs that we've done was a design double take where we took them into an area of the showroom and we showed how here's your basic pieces, and 3 different times we changed out accessories, an area rug, a piece of art, and it looked like a completely different
Oh, my
space.
goodness.
And they were just watching in just sheer amazement, And so we do these programs so that we are able to introduce them to Clive Daniel in a way that they might not really even know. And then we also do a lot of nonprofit events. That's a very big deal for me. When I joined Clive Daniel, one of the things that really mattered a lot to me was, as busy as I've always been doing my work, it was about appealing to the nonprofit community.
Okay, we're going to start to wrap up here. So tell us the address of Clive
It's
Daniel.
1351 Northwest Boca Raton Boulevard in Boca Raton, Florida.
But if you live in Boca Raton, the easiest way to describe it is on the corner of Glades Road and
Northwest 2nd, which is
Northwest
Boca
2nd.
Raton Boulevard, it's the northwest corner, the large white building.
Yes,
on
the
north
large
corner.
you can't miss it. I mean, it's magnificent. It's huge.
Beautiful building. It's Daniel's baby.
Yeah, and at night it just
It
is
glows.
stunning at night.
Yeah,
with
and
the
I'd like
lighting.
to meet Clive and Daniel at some point, and maybe they'll come to the party.
Well, they're at furniture market, so they're
Okay.
buying us more stuff. So maybe the next time. I don't think that they'll be here
Okay.
back in time for.
Well,
the
we'll have
party.
them on here to tell.
But they're
them.
very engaging. You really
Yeah,
like
I'm
them.
sure you would enjoy
Yeah,
it
they're a lot
because
of
I love
fun.
their store. I love their store. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'll see you both next Thursday night.
Looking
be
forward
there.
to it. Thank you.
Yeah, it was so much
Thank
fun.
you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You have been watching and listening to The Becky and Boca Show. Tune in every Thursday night at 6 p.m. to discover all the ways to spoil yourself and have a good time in beautiful Boca Raton. See you next week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and